Quote, "I am sorry for the loss of your son," end quote. Well, for the family of Trayvon Martin, who spent weeks, not months, wondering if the man who shot and killed their son would ever be arrested, let alone go to jail. Well, today's apology must have provided at least a sliver of comfort, or maybe not. But comfort's one thing, justice, however, a whole different kettle of fish. Our Andrew Whitman, he joins us in first position with the very latest coming out of Florida today. Andrew?
Well, Rich, today was just a bond hearing for George Zimmerman, but in many ways it felt like an actual trial. It included arguments from prosecutors and the defense, and from George Zimmerman himself. This, as a new photo casts even more doubt about just what happened the night Trayvon Martin lost his life. Today, George Zimmerman made his first public statement since the shooting of Trayvon Martin.
I am sorry for the loss of your son. I did not know how old he was. I thought he was a little bit younger than I am, and I did not know if he was armed or not.
A Florida judge set Zimmerman's bail at $150,000. He'll now likely spend the rest of the year out of jail at an undisclosed location awaiting trial. Before that, his defense attorney and the prosecutors made their arguments.
He came in voluntarily and surrendered himself.
This is a serious crime, and that he should be held under no bond.
ABC News obtained an exclusive new photo of Zimmerman from the night of the shooting, and it appears to show the back of Zimmerman's head bloodied. It was apparently taken just moments after the neighborhood watch volunteer shot and killed 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. The photograph may be the first public evidence that backs up Zimmerman's account of that night, that the shooting was in self-defense and Martin had repeatedly bashed his head on a concrete sidewalk. ABC News confirming the data embedded in the digital photo showed it was taken with an iPhone just 3 minutes after the fatal gunshot. The Martin family saying in a statement that prosecutors have seen this new photo and still believe Zimmerman murdered their son.
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. Now, in a second, I'm going to bring in our panel, but a voice that I want to hear tonight, in addition to theirs, is yours here. A lot happened today in Florida, and I'm going to kind of open up not only the phone lines, but open up the discussion. You can take it wherever you'd like. Zimmerman apologized, then bail, both what the bail was set out here, and then the enduring and open question about what is justice, and do you think, whatever that justice that you think is appropriate, will it be achieved through this trial? Now, here's the toll-free number, 38766-2428. Let me give you that number one more time. Phone lines are open at 888-766-2428. In addition to our calls, you can also join us via Facebook and Twitter. That reaction coming up in just a couple minutes. But let me bring in our panel tonight to talk about Trayvon and obviously a lot more. Basil Michael, political strategist and former top aide to Hillary Clinton and now a professor at Columbia University, the learned man, and Dominic Carter here, veteran political journalist and author and troublemaker, and the brains of this outfit at the table here, Mayo Bartlett, a former assistant district attorney, but also chief prosecutor of the Bias Crimes Unit in New York, Westchester DA's office. So I can't think of somebody better to really speak out on this. And Andrew Whitman, who you already heard from, our senior political correspondent. And yes, I did call him, guys, the brains of the outfit. So let me start with you. We heard what happened today. From an outside perspective, and we all have learned here, stand your ground, a much different law. It's really a geographical distinction at this point. Nonetheless, were you surprised what bail was set at today?
Absolutely. That bail was an extremely low bail. And again, we have to look at the purpose of bail. Bail generally exists to make sure that a person avails himself or herself of the court's process, that you're going to come back, you're going to deal with the case in an appropriate way, that you're not going to flee the jurisdiction. Typically, if we were to have a homicide allegation like we have in this case, you'd expect that the individual be remanded. So normally, it wouldn't matter if Mr. Zimmerman was Bill Gates. He wouldn't be able to post bail.
So, especially given all the security issues and everything in the media circus surrounded this, he's now released. But before he was released, he made an apology to the Martin family. How significant is that? And were you surprised also that he was given an opportunity to address the victim's family directly in court?
Not necessarily. Judges have a lot of discretion with respect to what they allow the defendant to do. The judge may not have even been aware that he was going to make that statement. But also I would note that the expression of condolence does not mean that he's saying that he's the person responsible for Trayvon's death. And You can look at it several ways. You can look at it as being a self-serving statement, or you can look at it as a sincere apology. And I really can't look into his heart to say which that is, but it would probably be one of the two. All
right, I want to talk in a minute with you about what the next steps to this case are going to be and the challenges in securing a conviction. But guys, your reaction. Start with you, Dom. You heard what both Mr. Zimmerman said and also what the court decided with respect to today. What was your first takeaway?
Today was really a battle over public opinion, and it was an excellent, we may not like it, but it was an excellent public relations move to apologize. It shows compassion. It humanizes Mr. Zimmerman, if that's possible at all, given all the negative media coverage that he has received. I'm not necessarily offended at the low bail amount, because that's not the ultimate outcome. The ultimate outcome for supporters of Mr. Trayvon Martin is a conviction. And that doesn't, I understand what you're saying, the purpose of bail and to ensure your appearance. So you can't lose focus of the battle. What's important here? And what's important is a conviction at the end of the day.
You know, it's interesting. I was looking at this and listening to it. And it just, I keep replaying it in my head, that question about was he told not to pursue, and then going ahead and continuing to pursue this guy, and to pursue Trayvon. It just seems that is going to be such an integral part of the case. And the question I have for you, since you're the attorney at the table, I imagine that bail hearings are pretty common. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But did we get a preview for how each side is going to, for the strategy of each side in this case?
Not really. I think that what we saw today was just an opportunity, as you stated, to humanize Mr. Zimmerman before this jury, whichever jury you're going to ultimately end up with. But it also gives him an opportunity to speak, to be heard, to come across as being a reasonably sensitive person. That bail hearing is a common hearing. But again, commonly when you have people facing homicide charges, bail is denied. And it brings up an interesting point, because you can have individuals who are just charged with stealing money, and they have bail that is 10 times what Mr. Zimmerman's bail is. You have individuals who have not killed anyone, and they're remanded. There is no amount of bail.
You know, get into the case. I'm going to bring you at home into our conversation. You see the toll-free number there on the screen. Today, in addition to the apology, I thought from an optics standpoint, a couple other things happened. This morning, we saw close-up pictures, apparently with timestamps. There was a lot more blood in the back of the head. Zimmerman also looked like a much smaller guy than I thought. I thought whether he dropped 80 pounds with nerves or whatever, but I thought he was a 240-pound guy, and this was a little kid that he was, obviously didn't listen to directions of the police. We'll get into that. And then you have a little bit of the apology. I was a little surprised, and this is all anecdotal, these aren't jurors, but some of the response today, which was, oh, that was really genuine, that was really heartfelt. And then you throw in stand your ground. Is this a tough, not only case for the prosecution, given the law in the books, but also a tough standard to meet because they're going for second-degree murder? Well,
the closest thing that we would have to stand your ground here would be Article 35 in New York State of the penal law. And what that says is that you have a right to defend yourself. But what it doesn't allow me to do is to become the aggressor, and then when you defend yourself, to claim I'm defending myself. And I think that it's, I have to choose my words carefully. I don't want to say clear, because we know that it's not always what we think it is, but there appears to be some evidence at this point that the police advised Mr. Zimmerman not to pursue Mr. Martin.
I think it's pretty clear. You can be as polite as you want. They told the guy cease and desist, and this numbskull went ahead and did this, and he put himself in the situation where we know the outcome. That much is crystal clear. I am, though, curious. You put yourself in Florida right now. You're in that prosecution's office. They set a standard of murder 2. They didn't talk about manslaughter. They went for murder 2 right now. Do they have their work cut out for them to get a conviction?
Not necessarily, because what happened here is they could have gone into the grand jury, and they could have hidden actually behind the grand jury, because quite often that's what happens. A prosecution's determination that they're dealing with something that's unpopular is eased and soothed by the ability to put it into a grand jury, which is secret. And if there's an indictment, it's the grand jury that's indicted, not the prosecution. And if there's no indictment, it's the grand jury that just didn't see the light. So this prosecutor decided to charge murder too. Ultimately, there very well will be a grand jury presentation, and that can include a host of other charges.